In this exercise, we're going to create a little standalone uh, tool wall for the garden. We'll be able to have a cover so we can hang some tools inside here, and it'll be on some 4x4s. We're using 2x4s, 1x2s, and half-inch plywood. So let's begin. We need to move our guy a little bit away from the axis because that's where I tend to or intend to put the start. So I'll just move him off to the side here, and now we can begin. So this is going to be based on using 4x4s as posts, some 2x4 cross beams or cross bars, and a little bit of a roof on the top that will shelter the tools. And to get started, we'll make our first rectangle. So from the origin, I'll make my first rectangle. It is 3.5 by 3.5 inches. Okay, we have our first, and I'll use the push tool and raise it up 60 inches. That's 5 feet. Okay, so I've pressed the space bar to make it so I can select this post. And if I click on it once, I can see that I can select one surface or one line or a combination of that. That means that this is neither a group nor a component. And making components as we go is important. So you have to know that. But before we make a component out of this, I want to cut the top off at a 45-degree angle. Now, if this is 3.5 inches wide, then 3.5 inches down should enable me to find my 45-degree angle. So the easiest way for me to do that is do tape. I'll try to avoid clicking on the corner or the midpoint when I do the tape. 3.5, so that's my destination. And now I'll use the line drawing tool, L for a line. I'll click it here at that intersection. Okay, so I found it. And I can continue to draw a line all the way around. And this back to the top. And once I've done that, since this is not a component, I should be able to erase, E for erase, these 3 lines and these 2 lines. And now I have a post with the top cut off at a 45-degree angle. So this part here is still 60 inches tall, or 5 feet tall. Okay, let's get out of the guy. You know, I think we should move him some more. So I keep him there because I recognize he's a good scaler. If I were to zoom out when thinking I was zooming in and then not be able to see my work, I wouldn't know which way to go. Okay, so there's my post. Make a component. Well, to make a component, I need to select it all. I could draw a box around it, but I'm just going to click it 1, 2, 3 times. Everything is selected. Right click, make a component, and we're going to call this the post. There's only going to be 2 posts. They are identical, so that's a good enough name. Now, when it's 60 inches apart, it's not 60 inches on center. It's 60 inches from the outside to the outside of the other post. Well, that can be kind of a tricky thing to measure. So I'll use the tape, and I'll start at the origin. I'll go in the direction that I want to. I'll type my 60 inches. I'll press enter, and there's a dot. I was hoping to get a line. I don't think can I get a line? Yeah, I can. Of course I can. 60 inches, and there's my line on the dot. Okay, good. Now I can move it. But instead, let's do this over again. Okay, to measure 60 inches from outside to outside, I'll use the tape, T for tape, off of the green line, 60 inches, enter, and there's my destination. So I need to drag this inside corner to here and make a duplicate. So to do that, I'll press M for move. I'll grab that corner and I'll move it, and before I click, I'll press Control, and now I click and it's there. I like to press escape afterwards and spacebar so I don't accidentally move something else. So my poles are the right distance apart. Next, I want to create a board across the top to hold up the back side of my roof. And so this is going to be the back where the slope is. I'll add the geometry to do that. And we'll work right off of this corner because that's where it's going to be. What we're going to put there is a 2x4. So I'll use R for rectangle and I'll zoom in. It is on the red plane. So I'm going to constrain it by pressing the right arrow there. And that should, oh, I clicked it, Control Z. Well, let's try to get it to do it. The right arrow. There we are. And so what is first? The height or the width? Well, if I look here, it looks like the width is first and the height is second. So I'm going to put it on this side. So it's 1.5, isn't that true for a 2x4, by 3.5. And I press enter. So there it is. Now here's what we have to remember. This is a component. This is just a collection of geometry. I could triple click this and make it a component now, and that would actually work. I'd have to double click it to edit it, but that's something to know about. I'm going to stretch this across from here to the destination. I always like to adjust my model so I can see clearly the destination. In fact, when I pull this across, you'll see me move the pull tool out into this open surface so it knows to snap to or stick to this line. Well, let's stop talking and get to work. So I'll click on this surface, I'll pull it, and then I'll move this to that surface so it's on the face. That's what it lines up to. So far, so good. So we'll change back to the tape because I want to cut this 2x4. Well, I want to rip the angle off to make it a 45-degree cut from the corner down to here. Now I think I can just use a line tool because I have this 45-degree line already. If I click on the corner, the end point, draw a line out, it infers that the line on the other side goes up in that direction. Let's just go down in this direction, and I have it. Okay, I'll reorient it and draw my line from here. As long as it's red, I know it's parallel, and then it goes from here to the corner. And so just like the corner of the post, I press escape, spacebar, I'll click on this line and delete it. It's deleted that section. Now I still have the corners to delete, so what's quicker? Eraser and just cover both, or using the select key, spacebar, and clicking both individually. Well, that's the 2x4 at the top that has the 2.5 inches here and whatever else is here. You know what's here, right? If we have a 2x4 where it's 1.5 inches down at this point, because that's its width, then whatever's left is going to be 2 inches. So my drawings say that I need another 2x4 about 1'7" and 1/2 inches below this, the top of it. So I'll get the tape again, T for tape, and so this is where I've run into trouble, and that is if I start from this corner and go down, I'm not sure that I'm going to get a line. In fact, I'm kind of confident I'm not. Let's try it. So what did we say? We wanted 1'7.5". So 1 foot 7 inches and 1/2. And there's that dot. You know, I probably could use that dot, but I've not done that before. Let's do something that we're confident with, but it does involve some more geometry. Control Z will take that away. I'll go back up to here, and I'm just going to put a line out. There's my line, escape. And now if I use the tape, T for tape, somewhere on this line, I prefer not on the ends, not in the middle, there we go. And I type, what is it, 1 foot 7 inches. I didn't make it a foot, did I? If you're looking in the corner, you'll see that. So 1 foot, there's a single quote, 7 space and 1/2 inches. And did I get it? And there it is. Super. I need to make another 2x4 down here. So this is the top. So you notice I zoom out up here, I move my mouse, zoom in here with the roller. I just find that almost easier than panning, and certainly easier than the shift pan. Okay, so that's where my next 2x4 is going. This time, instead of using rectangle, I'm just going to use the line tool. I'll start here and I'll draw out 1.5, and then I'll draw down, as long as it's blue, it'll be correct, 3.5, and then I'll draw back in. It's the standard shape, and then I make my part. Okay, this is just a 2x4 that goes from that outer edge to this outer edge. Again, I like to orient it so I can see my destination. Press the push tool, and I'll click on this. I'll pull, rather, and put it on the surface. Okay, so I just realized I took a risk. Anytime you make a component, rather, you make something that's supposed to be a component and then you make something else, if they are touching at all, they are going to be one component. You can't separate them. And I did that. So if I look at this, this is not a component yet, and it should have been. As soon as I'm done drawing one of my objects in my sketch, I need to triple click it. There we are. Right click and make it another component. So this is going to be, I'm going to call it the top beam. I'll click create, and this is going to be 1, 2, 3, the bottom beam. Did you notice what I did? I clicked it 1, 2, and it clicked the surface and the borders. If I didn't have a good orientation to see this, let me do it this way. It could seem like I've selected all of the component, and the only thing that would be the component would be the top surface. I bet that's fooled some people. Anyway, I'll click away and do it again. 1, 2, 3. Now I have the entire component, or the entire model of this 2x4. Now I can right click and make a component. And this is going to be the bottom beam. Yeah, a guy went to Home Depot, needed to fix where his attic had crashed through and it dropped insulation, so got what he needed, went to the cashier, and she said, "Is that all you needed?" And he said, "Yeah, bada beam, bada broom." Okay, let's move on. So the bottom beam is there. Now, I think I'm going to put that flat surface in. Let's take care of this line. We don't want to leave any extraneous. Oh, that line is part of this 2x4. So what did I say? So double click that component. There, I double clicked it. Now I'm editing just the elements of that component. I can click a surface, I can click a line, and I can select just this line and delete it. There, now I'll click away, and now we're back to being safe. Okay, so we're going to go, now we're looking at it from the front, and from the front we want to make a piece of plywood fit just inside of here. So I need a rectangle from here to there, and I think I can just simply do that. I need to go from this corner to this corner, and I need to do it with the rectangle tool. So rectangle from here to here. Now it covers both, okay? And I'll press the push tool, hit the surface, and I'm going to pull it out a 1/2 inch. Well, I pulled it out a little bit without holding the mouse down, and I'll just type 0.5. So now it should be a 1/2 inch. Spacebar stops that tool. I'll tilt it up to look. Looks like a 1/2 inch to me. Okay, so we'll make this a component. And 1, 2, 3. I have to make sure I do it. 1, 2, 3. Right click and make a component. And this is going to be the backboard. Okay, create. Now eventually we're going to want to measure these, maybe even explode this out so we can know what the dimensions of our parts are. But I'm not worried about that yet. Okay, so with those done, I'm ready to do the front board. So this is going to be the top rail, the where our sloped roof is going to be put across. So it's going to be another 2x4. So I'll zoom in, and I'm going to use the line drawing tool again. I feel I have a little more control. 1.5, even though the rectangle might make us feel confident. 1.5, that we're making what we want. And then down, what is it, 3.5? And then now the last two dimensions are mirrors of the first two, space. So this, now a moment ago, I described that I could make this a component right now and then make it 3D. I think I'm going to try that. 1, 2, 3. So I've selected it all, right click, make a component. And this is going to be the front beam. Okay, front beam. And I'll click create. Now this one I want to span my 5 feet, but I also want it to stick out a foot on each end. So to do that, I'll use the push tool, and I click on the surface and nothing happens. Why? Oh yes, I made this a component. I have to double click it. Click, click. So now that component, I can use the push tool and it'll have an effect. So I'll pull this out 12, and there it is. Shift it around this side. Now I can get the destination there, but I'm just going to pull it out, and I know it has to go 5 feet, and then it has to go 1 more foot, so I'm just going to put 6 feet. And now I'll take a look and see if that did it. It did. Good. I'll spacebar and click away. So now that's my top beam. Good. We're ready to put a truss on. Well, such as it is. To make the trusses, we'll orient this so we can see this edge, and we'll make our 1x2 lay along that edge. And to do that, I'll start with a line, and I'll draw from here to the top, and I need it to go over by 0.75, and then back down. Now, how do I know it's 0.75 down here? Well, I think if I touch it, the line here, and pull it out, it will create an inference, and I should be able to see that inference. And I don't. I wonder why. Well, if I look up here, what do I have? Well, how did this happen? Oh, this didn't meet my model, but it looks like it if I orient it this way. All right, well, we have to fix that. Control Z. So the line is gone. So endpoint, that'll work. And down to here, endpoint. There's a line. I'll put it across that same 0.75. Okay, and then up, and now I have the inference. That's that lavender line, and a line across the top finishes it. Okay, so I've drawn this rectangle over the top of this model, this component, so it's not supposed to stick to it. If I press the P tool, I will pull it up. And how wide is a 1x2? I think it's 1.5. So 1.5. Yeah, that looks right. And so it doesn't get messy, I'm going to make it a component. And I'm going to call it a truss board. Yeah, that's what I'll call it. And I think right click, make a component. And since it might be different from the front, I'll call it the back. Back truss board. Okay, so it exists. To edit it or to change it, I need to double click it and use the push tool to make it go up, because it's got to go across the top. Oh, I don't know how far to go. I'm just going to go that far, some arbitrary number. What I do know is that if I make another one at a 45-degree angle going down this side, then where the two upper corners meet will be in the center of this. So I'll just put a line there, some geometry to find it. Spacebar to get out of that, and I'll find the tape tool. What's half the width of a 2x4? Isn't it 0.75? That looks like the middle to me. And then, oh, it looks like I need another line. I'm just going to draw a line from this intersection and point in the post. Yeah, let's try this one. Intersection. And make the line on the green axis, make it go all the way across, and then click it. Okay, so now I have something that's related to this surface, and I can find the center. Press escape because I want to make a new line straight up. Now, as long as it stays blue, I can just go up. Otherwise, I can press the up arrow and constrain it to blue, which I like to do. So what this means is I can press escape. I can pull this surface until this meets the line. And hopefully I made the line long enough. So let's try that. So 1, 2, 3. Now I'm editing this. Notice the line that I just made is gray. That means it's not in this component. That's handy. So push tool, I'll pull up. Oh yeah, let's change the orientation so that I can see and touch the top of that line. And when I do that, I know it's there. Okay, good. That'll work. Press escape, spacebar, click away, select that line, delete it, the other line, delete it, and I suppose we could get rid of this, but let's do the tape later. So I need 2 of these. So we've made our board. Now we need one on the other side. And to do that, instead of duplicating it, copying it, and moving it over, I've actually done a model of this before, and even though I did my best, the ends didn't quite line up. So when I wanted to make the surface board based on the corners of these, the surface wasn't in the same plane. So what I've done in others that did work is I've just drawn the new geometry here. So I will draw off of this one our board. So using a line drawing tool, we'll draw a line down here, and then it needs to be down the width of this board, which is 1.5, isn't it? 1.5. Okay, and then I'll draw, there it is, perpendicular, and back up, and I should have my surface. Escape. I do. So I can pull that 0.75 away, and because I used all of those surfaces, it is lined up. Let's make it 8 for now. Okay, so I have my my truss. I'm going to call this a truss. My 2 boards for the truss. I will select both of them, and I believe I have them both selected. Let's try that again. This one, hold the shift key. This one. Oh, I've selected one surface. That's because only one of them is a component. Okay, this one needs to be its own component. So this is going to be called the front truss. Yeah, a big name for a small board, but that's the job it's doing. Okay, now it's a component, and those 2 components can be grouped together, or rather not made a component, but simply grouped together. So now I need to move this to the end, and I don't think it's going to be easy. I don't think I can find an exact spot where this board touches this board. We'll try it. So if I use the move tool, I'll grab there. It's on the edge. Yeah, I know it's on the edge, but is it? I'll zoom out that way. I'll go here and I'll zoom in a lot here, and I'll go to the end, and well, that is the end, but I went too far. I should use this edge. So Control Z, my bad. I'll flip it over. Let's get the orientation. One thing I do and spend more time in, and that is getting the best view to do the work. I think it makes my job easier to move things where I want. So this is lining up with the endpoint. That actually makes sense. I'll constrain it to red by hitting the right arrow. And I'll move it down here. If I move my move tool across this surface, it aligns up with that surface. So there it is. Yay. Now we do want to